Hey all you budding artists, we're ready for Art Club session 2. Today we're going to be on the letter B, and B for me is birds. So we're going to have fun creating a couple of birds and an environment to place your birds. Same setup, equipment wise you don't need too much. Your favourite pencil, just a regular pencil, a rubber, a black felt tip pen, as well as coloured felt tip pens or coloured crayons, whichever you prefer to use, and a good old trusted pencil sharpener to sharpen your pencils if you haven't done so already. And here's little Arthur coming to join us. He can't resist it. Maybe it's just the mention of birds gets him all excited. Thanks Artu, I really appreciate that. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get drawing. So let's start with the letter B, because that's what we're doing, is birds, and I'm going to give this a nice feathery kind of feel to it, because birds have feathers, and we're going to be putting some of those feathers onto some of these little creatures that we're doing. So let's create the environment first off. So lightly again, using just a regular pencil, let's look at our environment. So our little birds are going to need somewhere to roost. So very lightly, I am going to draw a tree branch with a few branches coming off of that. This is where you can get creative as well. Add as many branches as you'd like to add. Try and keep this part here that I'm doing as free as possible. We need to make this a home for our birdies and give them somewhere to roost. So we're going to be putting one of the birds in this area, and then we're going to be putting the rest of the birds on the top area. So this is our tree. Put a few branches, and this is really fun to do the branches. This is where you can get personal, putting as many little twigs as you wish, and we'll even add a little bit of greenery, shall we? Because it's springtime, so we want a little bit of foliage, add some leaves, connect these leaves each branch, and we'll do the same here. You see what I'm doing? They're almost like cloud shapes, and you can do them joined or separate. This will just make your tree look really colourful and a lot more interesting. I think your birds will appreciate it as well. Nice and slow, and these will be green. If you like, actually, yeah, let's do that now. You can actually add some leaf shapes in here, just so they look like leaves. And another little technique for doing leaves is the same sort of technique as we're going to be using for the feathers, and it's just to do like a letter U. Here comes Artu, he's going to sabotage my drawings. Come on you, let's get you off. You can come and have a look when the birds are done. So these little U shapes, different sizes, big ones and small ones. They also look like leaves. If you want to, you can add some blossoms to the trees as well, add a few little flowers. I think because it's springtime, it's my favourite time of year. And it's always beautiful to see all the little blossom trees down the streets. They're so colourful and so pretty. So if you feel inclined to do so, there's no reason why you couldn't add a few very simple 4-petal flowers. Quite small, because blossoms are quite small, to your picture. And remember, this is just our base. We'll go back in with our felt tip pen and we'll fill those in later. So we have got our tree, a big tree. I want to put a little bit of detail in here. So want to try and create the effect of bark on the tree. So I'm just doing these long shapes, they're quite squiggly, just so we get some texture to make it look more like the bark of a tree. If you ever get stuck for ideas, I really like to research what I'm about to do and draw. And I'll always look at Google Images. If you type in the word bark or trees, you can have a look at the texture. You can get really detailed with this. I'm doing something quite simplistic. And then we've got the knots in the tree as well. So if you notice, the trees grow in different directions. And here we have a knot, or what we call a knot, a little nub of a branch coming out. This is where the birds are going to stay. And look at the world go by. So here's our tree, just with a little bit more detail. We'll have the detail on here after we've got our birds in. Let's get started on bird number one. Let's do a very, very simple and yet funny bird. So if you've seen Angry Birds, I do like Angry Birds, and their birds are very cute, very funny, and very simple, and they're often just really simple shapes. So we'll try and go for the same kind of thing with this bird. So we can start off with a circle. Or circle-ish. I want to put his feet in. So he's clinging to the tree. So your 3 round toes have to hang over the branch slightly. And then join that together with the other 3 toes on the other side. I want to give him a really big beak. Simple sort of arch shape. And underneath we'll have a smaller shape. I will give him a long brow. So we are going to do a line above the beak, just like so. And then I'm going to, using sort of feathery shapes, turn that into one long eyebrow. Then we're going to do his eyes. So we want a big eye and another big eye. And let's have him looking to the side. 2 little eyeballs. And then we're going to give him his little tiny wing. And it is going to be a tiny little wing. Thank you, R2. Thank you. Oh, your feet are wet. Where have you been in the sink? R2 likes to drink water from the sink, not his bowl. Look, you've left little footprints everywhere. But he's absolutely adorable. I love him to pieces. So we're going to put a little wing here. And then the other side of a little wing. And then underneath, we'll put his tail. So I want him to have a longish tail. That's the sort of shape I'm giving him. And we'll also give him a few scruffy feathers on the top of his head. That's one funny looking little bird. Now this little bird here is going to have some offspring, so some little chicks or some baby birds. These are going to be really simple. They're going to be little balls of fluff. So how I like to do little balls of fluff is with just a few little lines, little dashes. And then another one. We'll make this one skinnier. And you just do lots and lots of little lines so it looks like spiky fluff. And then we'll do the same with the little feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 little circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 little baby birds. And then here, give them 2 little dots. to make them look cute and innocent. There its little eyes, and then a little beak, which is two little triangles on top of each other. This one here can even have its wings out. If you remember, baby little birds can't fly straight away, so we give them some little wings. There's our two babies and Papa watching over them. So in this corner here, it would be really, really good fun to do a bigger bird. So something a little bit more detailed that you can have fun with playing around with in terms of adding that detail too. So we're going to do an owl here. So owls are very majestic birds, very regal looking. So we're going to do a big body, and the body for an owl tends to be bigger at the top and thinner at the bottom. So here we are going to put the feet in, but we are going to do some feathery shapes first off. Now owls have really big feet, so we'll do 1, 2, 3. Thank you, little one. He just wants some love. Bless him. Come on, let's put you back down. And then here we'll do the same. 1, 2, 3. Now the owls also have a very large head. We go here for the head. Off you can't draw. If you could take over my class. And we are going to give him these little, almost feathery type ears. A straight head. Oh, you're a menace today, huh? Come on. So that's the shape of our head and our body, and then a big set of folded wings. So we do a line out, a slight curve, and then we're going to add the feathers, almost like giant fingers, as he's stretching his arms out. Smaller ones as we go closer to the body. And then, this is where you can do the detail part, we do smaller feathers. Above, smaller, 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 smaller feathers. It's got big wings. This wing you're not going to see too much because that's going to go off behind the tree. But we do the same thing. We can add all the detail in here of the owl's feathers. You can also put some feathers on his chest, or feather shapes. Remember, bigger at the top, smaller as we go down to the bottom. Now, owls have funny little beaks, like a skinny little beak, considering the size of them. We'll have his little mouth open. That's a classic owl beak. Not as big as our Angry Bird style bird, but owls have the biggest eyes. So what I'm going to do is I want to give him a space where we can put the eyes before we colour him in. So the eyes are going to sit in this shape here. We're going to have lots of different colours going on with Mr. Owl, and then a huge round eye. Owls are renowned for having amazing sight, especially at night. Remember yesterday we did the two little dots to showcase beams of light and highlight for the owl. So that's our little owl done nicely. Now for this next step, I am going to turn the paper upside down, because what I thought would be fun for us to do is to add a bat hanging underneath the tree, and it's easier to do the bat as if he were the same as the others, and we do him upright. So bats have skinnier feet, so not big feet like the two birds we've done previously. We are going to do 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to have a big space, 1, 2, 3. So these are little bat's feet. And then we're going to do our body, which is going to be more of a pointed body. And bats have really big ears, but a cute little head, so I'm going to give him spiky hair, big ears, and spiky fur at the side. This looks a bit like Pikachu. And then we can do the bat wings, and these will be really fun. So bat wings are nice and big. I'll do them pointing up. And then 2 points and a final third point as it connects to the body. So it's a nice, big, sweeping C shape. And we come down to the point. Just going to hit onto the tail there. So let's start from the body and do the little point, and then another point, and that's our bat wing. We will give the bat a frame for the wings. So let's just put a little line here. Now bats almost have like a little piggy nose. So we are going to give him almost the shape of a little pig nose. And then we're going to do his little eyes, 1 eye, 2 eye. We'll do the line for his ears, just to separate those. And people do, if you're doing like a vampire bat for like Scooby-Doo, they give them little fangs, really little fangs hanging out. And then we'll do some of these little squiggles, so it's like fur. And then we put a little line here for the wing, heading in between the two little spikes. And here's our little bat. And now we can switch and turn the bait back up to where it was. And then you'll see we've got our upside down bat, 2 birds, and 2 baby birds all together on our tree. And we'll add some detail to the bark, to the branch, the same as we did before. And these are just simple little squiggles with a point, just to make it look like it's tree bark. And you'll see this will look really good when we start to colour it in. So as many of these little squiggles as you can, and we're ready to do our outlining. So we have a black felt tip pen. Let's do the tree first. Again, don't press too hard when you're doing your outlining. And don't worry too much about these detail parts. Let's just outline the initial shape of our tree and our branches. If you remember the trick we did yesterday, when you're using a pencil, it means that any of the lines that shouldn't be there, like the line going through the bird's feet, which is our trunk or our branch, that can be rubbed out using your rubber, and then it won't show when you come to fill it in with your crayons or your paints. And the good thing about birds is, especially if you're having a look at different birds, the colours of birds are absolutely amazing. All different sorts of colours. And you've got your tropical birds. So I'd encourage you to have a look. See which birds you like. Everything from a parrot to a toucan. You know, there are some really exquisite birds out there. And nature has the best colour palette. So if you ever need inspiration, not just for drawing, but for clothes, for painting walls, and I think nature for me is the best way to go about doing that. So we're just doing our leaves, which I know look a little bit like fluffy clouds, but you'll see when we come to fill this in and make them green, everyone's going to know that these aren't clouds, they're leaves. So let's just connect our branch underneath. Now then, here's my little back claws. And that's our tree, all finished. Now we can start to do the birds themselves. I'm not going to turn the paper around now that I've drawn my bat. I can see where I need to go. And I am just going to draw the lines on him first. There we go, here's his wings, the tail of the top bird, and then the top part of this wing here. We are going to be very careful because these are skinny to do his little feet or his little claws that are hanging on to that branch. It's fascinating how bats hang upside down. And do the rest of his little body, and then do the points on the wings. This is a very Batman looking wing, but I like Batman very much. Put the little lines in between these points, and then his furry head. There we go. Lightly just do the ears and the spiky hair. This part you need to be very careful with. Helps if you've got a felt tip pen that's got a finer tip than this one. I've been using this one for ages and it's one of my favourites, but for the detail, like his tiny little mouth, let's switch over to a much smaller felt tip pen. There we go, that makes it easier for me to do his eyes. And that funny little piggy nose, with two little dots here. And then his fangs. And if you don't want to give him fangs, don't give him fangs. There's our bat. He's finished. So let's do this bird here. Because we started off with his tail, so we can do that. I'm going to put a couple of lines here. Then we'll do his feathers. And we'll do the feet. Nice big toes, or claws, and the body with this little tiny wing. Connect that to the feet, the same the other side. This wing is going to be in relief, so slightly behind. You're not going to see the point that you did before because of the perspective. And then the beak, two little nostrils, and the bottom half of the beak. We will do one eye, two eye, the eyeball, and then we do that straight line across, and then we give him his bushy, feathery eyebrows. Top of the head, and remember he's got three little tufts of feathers on the top of his head. And then you can see our cartoon bird. Now, remember these little babies here. Again, if you've got a fine felt tip pen, it might be easier to do these little fluffy bits. I'm certainly going to switch over when I do the detail because it's really small. And this one here had his wings out as well. Just lightly do these little dots. Here's our fine pen. And if you don't have a fine felt tip pen, see if you just have a regular black pen, a black biro pen. You do the little black dots for the eyes and a little triangle for the mouth. And this one here has a little wing and a little wing. Two little baby birds. Now let's do Mr. Owl. So he's the biggest bird. I'll start off with this big feather at the top and these big feathers here. And I'm already thinking about the colours. Owls tend to be browns, greys, creams, but that's not to say that you can't have an owl that's whatever colour you want it to be. Let's do the body, Mr. Owl. Remember, we've got these little feathery shapes here, little curves, and then remember the big claws on the owl. Let's do the body on the other side. And then do that part, top of the wing, and then more feathers. And then we do his head last of all. And then the detail. So remember he had a really small beak, which we leave open, and I'm going to fill that in black so you can see that it's open. It's his little mouth. It's a really easy shape to do. Then we're going to do his big black eye here, and then that lovely little shape to frame the eye. And then a little bit of the body and the feathery shapes, almost like the owl's puffing its chest up. We've got our little circles to do here, 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 and here. So now you can see all of our three birds together in their home. Start to colour some of these in, and this is where I'm going to leave it up to you in terms of what colours you use. I will use my pencil crayons today. I fancy doing this bird here first, and I'm going to do him in blue. So I'm just going to very, very lightly and very quickly get his base colour in. Just using the side of the pencil, just for an even wash of colour. You take your time with this. I've been doing this for a long, long time, so I know how to get the best from my crayons. It's always a good idea for you to practice and play. And I like to do this. So remember yesterday, when I told you, when you're using your pencil lightly to get a base colour, and then go in with a little bit more depth, and here comes Alto again. I knew it. You know why? It's because we've actually got the birds done, isn't it? Hey, no, you can't eat these birds. You can't, you gorgeous little animal. Right. Let's get you off and get you some proper food. Off you go. So we're going to use the pencil. We're going to press a little bit harder underneath the eye to give it a little bit of darkness. Now remember what I said before, we can start to build up some of the shadow or some of the darker colour at the bottom of the body. This is where it would be darkest. And then the wing, we will do the same. And add a little bit of dark blue by pressing hard just at the bottom of the wing. And what you can do as you get more familiar with it, just start to do what we call a gradation, which is when you go from a very dark colour to a medium colour to a light colour. This one here is going to be darker across the whole side because it's in the shade, and then we will also have a little bit of darkness, just a darker colour, just on this side of the head, and then his 3 feathers on the top. I like the colour, I think it's good in the colour blue. So what you can also then do is do the shading on here. So dark, dark because it's underneath, and then this one here will be dark. Yep. Just outline these little feet a little bit more, adding a little bit more shade. Now another thing that you can do as well with your pencil crayon, or let's get it with a felt tip pen. Let's get a skinny felt tip pen this time. Is if you wanted to, you could put a few little feathers, which are just these little shapes, just on the side here. You see what I've done there? Just little, they're almost like scales really. They will double up as feathers quite nicely. So whatever colour you do your bird, these would be the colour of the feathers. I'm going to give him, in a felt tip pen, some lovely orange toes. Just colour those in, nice and simple. Now this felt tip pen here, I love them. They're really good. This is a very strong colour. So I do want to give him an orange beak, but I'm not going to do it in a felt tip pen. I am going to do it using an orange crayon. So we're going to start colouring the outside of his beak, both sides. And I want to leave it light in the middle. Now the reason why I'm leaving it lighter in the middle is because of the highlights. Thank you, Artie, but they're not for you. Ah, I know. You're not getting any attention, are you, at all, because we're drawing. Okay, come on, you big little nuisance. Oh, love you to pieces, you gorgeous cat. Right, back to the beak. So we lightly do the same sort of thing we did with the body. We're going to make it a nice soft colour, and then we're going to leave that part in the middle white. Just so it looks like the light has hit it. And that again will help with your dimensions, making it look a little bit more three-dimensional. We'll do the side of the beak stronger, just on one side, and then the underneath of the beak will be very dark, getting lighter. Here's our little birdie. Hey! Artie likes to do whatever he likes to do, which I normally have no problem with because he is a gorgeous little cat. Now then, let's fill in these eyeballs. Black and black. And I think what I might do actually is, let's do his eyebrow in that darker blue with a felt tip pen. There we go. Yeah, that fits in quite nicely. He looks good. So let's do another little trick here. And you can do this with your pencil if you prefer, because that is grey. So if I find my pencil originally, we're going to do the same kind of shading thing for the eyeball, which is just to very lightly, I'm not going to press hard at all, just add a little bit of that grey there, and a little bit of the grey on the outer edge. So there we have our little bird. Now look what I've missed. I have missed the tail. How did I do that? So let's colour that in nice and light. Now look at this. This is a little clue as to whether or not this would be darker or lighter. But because it's behind the tree, there's going to be shadow here. So let's add, press harder to make the top of the tail darker. And then we can just go across with these little lines and make them blue. One bird done. The baby birds. These little chicks, I am going to do yellow. So we literally just get a nice yellow pencil and just fill in our little baby birds. These are the easiest thing to do. And the other baby bird. This one here has its little wings out. It's trying to fly. Don't do it. The two little chicks. Let's give them a little orange beak with a nice fine orange felt tip. Just like so, and then the same on its little feet. Can't really see them too much, but we can just give its little feet a splash of orange. Let's do Mr. Bat. So Mr. Bat, I am going to do him a mixture of colours. I am going to use my black pencil crayon, which I like. I love this colour here. I'm also going to add, if I have it, a little bit of purple or dark blue. You can use either. So let's start off with our black first. So most of the bat's body is going to be black. So we'll start off with the top of the wings. And bats are usually like a black or a brown. The wings tend to be more black and the body tends to be brown. Actually, that's a good point. I'm educating myself there. Yes, we can do the body more brown if we wish, because they're quite fluffy. They tend to have like fur, not feathers. So let me see if I have a brown pencil crayon. I don't know if I do. The black one. Yes, I have a bit of a brown colour. So let's do a little bit of brown here. Very, very lightly. Take it up onto the head a little bit, and then I'm going to switch back to doing the black. And then we'll also do the side of the bat's body, using the black, just a nice light wash of colour, nothing too strong. I think Artie's found a friend in the afternoon. So if you notice, when I'm colouring in here, what I do is these little circular motions, and I always make sure that the one end of my pencil crayon is sharp, and the other end is flat. And it's the flat end that gives us these lovely colours that we can do. You just see around his little mouth. I think Artie must be hungry. These birds really are driving him crazy. So we will do the same sort of effects that we had here for the other birds, which is a little bit more depth of colour around the outside of the bat's body as we blend that in to the brown. Darker on the outside, lighter on the inside. And remember, he's got these little bits of fur as well, so we will certainly add those in. And we'll use the brown for the inside of his wings, but very, very lightly. These tend to almost be like a pinkish grey I've seen before. They have a very waxy, see-through texture for real bats. I think we can get away with brown. Very, very light here. So the faster you go, the less colour you're going to put on your piece of paper. Here we go, he's looking good. Same kind of thing, we can add a little bit more darkness to the inner part of the wing closer to the body. Taking that underneath the wing shape here, a little bit more brown. And then we will also just go over these lines we did, make them brown, so it fits in quite nicely. Now the bat's wings also have little veins running through them as well, so if you wanted to, using your little brown, you can do these little veins, which are just little squiggles, almost like the branches of a tree. I want to give our bats nice pink ears. So we've got pink crayon here, pink crayon here, and you know what? I am going to make his little piggy nose pink, just like a pig's. We are going to make his eyes yellow. And for this I need to sharpen my pencil because the eyes are very small. And unlike the other birds, bat has darker feet. So we're going to give his feet a black colour. There you go. That's our little bat. I'll make this top of his wings a little bit darker. Top of his head a little bit darker, where we've given him his little spiky fringe. And these a little bit darker. Bat's finished. Now we're going to go on to Mr. Owl, and we need the same colours again. A nice yellow, and some different colour browns. These sort of shades here are really, really lovely for an owl. So you can see him with a little pencil crayon here. You could even use a tiny little bit of like a light orange as well if you wanted to. We have got his beak to do as well. So he's going to have a yellow beak unlike the other bird. Let's start with his beak first. Make that yellow. And we'll make his feet yellow as well. Nice and lightly for the feet. And then I will add some of my darker brown just to shade these. So remember, on the inside we'll make it a little bit darker, and also underneath. So this sort of shape here, underneath, and then on the inside, underneath, and on the inside, underneath and on the inside, underneath and on the inside, underneath and on the inside, just to outline the feet. I'm going to give Mr. Owl a very, very light brown to frame around his eyes. A nice caramelly colour brown. And we will use that same caramelly colour brown on his body. Slightly stronger around the eye, and then here we'll just lightly take that across, again using not a lot of pressure, but nice and even. It's almost like a printer. When you see a printer printing a document, you know, and it just goes all one way, top to bottom, bottom to top, just to make it slightly stronger. And then we can start to work on the side pieces. Let's make them a little bit darker. We're still using that little, I used to call like a rotary technique. So you're almost spinning, you're doing this round circular motion with your pencil. That's how I like to do it. Same on the other side. And then we can start to add some detail to these feathers here. So this is just filling in each little C shape that we've done with this colour brown. We're pressing harder so that we get that extra definition and that extra shape. You can see that. As many feathers as you like on this. So it's not, you can fill in the whole feather. I just like to do redraw the shape of it on the inside of where we've put the black mark. And then the same for the feathers underneath. So these will have just one side, nice and dark, a bit like how we did the feet. And then also here, on the outer part of the body, let's make that a little bit stronger to give that more definition. And that creates that nice little blend as well. We'll be coming back to using this colour as well. Actually, let's stick with that. Let's stick with it. We can change over to the darker colour later. So we are going to do this colour brown here for the outside feathers. Nice and light to start with. And now we're coming across our other little bird. So carefully just outline around the brown, and then we're going to go the other side, because this would also be light brown, light brown, light brown. And then we do the same on this wing here, light brown, light brown, light brown. Now I'm going to use the darker brown just to do the top of the wing. Again, nice and light. And we will do it darker here. And then the same on this side. And let's do it darker again underneath. And then these feathers here are going to be even darker. And we've got a few feathers on this side, a few feathers on the other side. And my table's wobbling, you can see that's because of the pressure that I'm using to colour in these to get that difference in colour. So it almost looks as though I'm using loads of different colours here. And actually it's just the one colour crown. We'll blend that into the top. That will make this slightly darker. We'll round off the point of the wing, and then we'll go along making this gradually darker. As we go on the inside here, this one will be dark. For a little bit of shadow. And then we can just lightly start to blend this out. And then we'll do the same for his head. So a nice wash of colour on Mr. Owl's head. And I do hope that this doesn't, the judder of the table with how hard I'm colouring it in, doesn't show in the video, because I'd hate for it to be wobbling while you're trying to look at what I'm doing. Here we go, Mr. Owl. Make you nice and dark there, because that's to this side where there's going to be more shadow. Darken up his little ear bits. Same here. Make those a little bit darker. And we'll just add a little bit more shadow to the side of Mr. Owl's face. I've got to do these little feathers as well. Just remember we said we would do these ones quite a bit darker. And then fill in, go over the top, just with a little bit of the lighter colour. That's Mr. Owl. We're missing his eyes, aren't we? Black felt tip pen has to be when you're doing the pupil of the eye, or as we said, like an animal eye, it should be really, really dark. And if you've got a really good felt tip pen for when you've looked after them and you put the lids on properly, it should always remain nice and strong in terms of the colour. You see, the little white balls are there to replicate a highlight. And they do. There's an owl with his big eyes. He's looking cute. So there's our three birds. Now, I'll quickly start to do the tree, but this is where I can leave it in your safe hands and get you guys to finish it off. So choose on the colour that you want for your tree. Obviously, it makes more sense to do it in brown. So we have got a lot of brown in here, but it doesn't make any difference. Let's just lightly, very, very lightly, do our tree branches. They're all separated by black lines, so don't worry too much if this doesn't look even. It's better to, because if you think of the texture of a tree, it is really textured. So the more detail we get in there, the better. And you can see I'm colouring over all these little dark spots, but I can still see them, and it's important that we can still see them. And then the same for this side of the tree. Just very, very lightly colour the tree in. And our birds are the main feature. This is just the bird's home, or the bird's roost. The birds are our main focus. So you can, as we did before, remember to add some dark parts. So this here is going to be the bit that's more shadowed. Shadow is usually underneath, depending on where the light is going to be. So we can make this a little bit darker, especially where Mr. Bat is. And then we will just use, I'm going to use a darker brown felt tip pen. So remember all these little marks that we put in, and I can still see them. I'm going to colour them in using a felt tip pen, and this creates the effect of bark, that the tree has a nice texture to it. And it's really simple. And they're little blobs of colour, which which will help the tree look more like a tree. And remember, we had this little part here where the branch comes off. And if you've got time, remember you've got a background as well, so you can fill the background in with whatever you want. It can be a nighttime scene, it can be a daytime scene, put sun's in, clouds. You can even have a few more birds just flying around if you wanted to. And then the same with these big shapes. So this is just to give you an idea of how we fill in these lines, just to make it look more like bark. I don't think you need to see me do the whole tree, but I would love to see how you do your tree. I have a tree out in my back garden, and if you've got trees in your garden or in the park, I love the ones that are covered with ivy leaves. They're really good. I mean, if you're into detail, then you could spend your time adding loads of little leaves. I'm just going to put my pens back, and then I'm going to get some green pencils. So you can use a mixture. Again, I like to mix up my mediums, so pencil crayons and felt tip pens. So let's go for a nice light green on here, because remember we said it was spring. So a really lovely vibrant green just on our leaves. And then you can go over the leaf shapes that we did, and we will do the same technique that we did with the tree, and also with like the owl's feathers and the bird's feathers by adding another medium in the form of a felt tip pen. So again, I'm not going to do all of these, just some. Now, darker green. This is where we start to do our shading bit. So just nice and gently, just round off the outer edge of each little section that we've done. So all these little round shapes, or little C shapes, and a little bit of darker green in here. And then you can also, using a green felt tip pen, just do your leaves. And it's a very simple leaf shape. These we did smaller leaves. You see, and you do get the effect that these are leaf shapes. You can even use your felt tip pen just to go in very simply and just do outlines. These are almost hedgy. Now hedges have really tiny leaves compared to tree leaves. We want a pink blossom there for sure. That's the favourite colour of my blossoms. Pink. And then a little bit yellow. Just to the centre using a felt tip pen. So there we have it. We've got our three birds, different styles. We have our tree, and we also have a little bit of foliage on our tree with the branches, and we have our big tree, and also the letter B with a feathery kind of twist, just to make it go with our bird drawing of the day. So have fun with this, change the colours, change the shapes, the body shapes. You can do whatever you want to your birds. I encourage you to be as crazy, as colourful, creative and imaginative as you possibly can. If you like, you can even create 2 or 3 different versions of the same drawing using lots of different birds. Google some different bird designs. You've got everything from eagles to vultures and peacocks to sparrows, you name it. There are so many different birds that you can get inspiration from. So thank you very, very much. I hope you've enjoyed this session. The next one is going to be the letter C, and I'm going to surprise you with that on the day. Take care, everyone. Bye.